Morning guys, Nate here in Murray Farm and Ranch. Wanted to come show you guys the garden this morning, kind of what we've got going on. It's early, everybody's still asleep. I'm having a little cup of coffee before I head over to the shop and work out. But it's not too hot yet. I want to show you guys just kind of what we've got going on. Our garden is a little bit behind from where we would normally be. I attribute that to a couple of things. We had a lot of work to do with the cows this year, and also we had another child. He came 6 weeks early, which threw a little wrench into my gardening plans, but hey, I mean, it's worth it, you know. So anyway, I just want to show you guys what we got, a couple of things that we changed this year and a couple of things that I will change next year. One thing that we did was we utilized these silage tarps. These are from Farmer's Friend, and we try to use them to snuff out the grass and weeds, and I will say that it made a big difference. We put these on in the fall, and they basically were on for like several months, and then like in the places where I don't have anything growing, I'm just leaving them on. Just make it that much more deadly for the grass. Now this is a row of okra, and I chose not to do weed barrier on the okra. I'm not really sure why. I mulched it with grass. I can't really explain why I didn't use weed barrier, but this is a row of okra, and it's looking pretty good. Down below, inside this these grass clippings, I have a, you can kind of see it right here, I have a soaker hose. So that's going to be a pretty nice row of okra. That's going to produce plenty enough for us to eat. Now, we have had so much trouble with grass and weeds in our garden. So this year we used the silage tarp, and then we built these rows. They're 30-inch wide rows with 18-inch walkways, and then we covered them with this weed barrier. And man, it's made a huge difference. I mean, you can tell like just a huge difference from this that has weed barrier to that doesn't. So definitely will be expanding my weed barrier next year. So this row here is all different varieties of squash. Another nice starter plant there. These all came from seed. We didn't start any of our squash early. Another nice one. And these are all a little bit behind from where I would normally be with my squash. But like I said, it just kind of was the way it worked this year. Another nice one. Now this next row is cucumbers. Another thing that we didn't do this year that we normally do is I normally trellis my cucumbers, but I just didn't have time to do it. These cucumbers love water. They're thirsty little plants, so I've got a soaker hose on them. And these down here on the ends, these last two, these are lemon cucumbers. And then we have a lot of these little pickling cucumbers. These plants are looking really nice. Normally, another thing that I do is I typically will select for one main stem and prune off, but I just haven't had time this year, so they're just kind of going wild and they're running on the ground. Kitty kitty, hi kitty kitty, hey. Just a ton of just different squash varieties. Here is a zucchini plant. There's a little zucchini on there. Probably pick him maybe at the end of the day or maybe tomorrow. And then this zucchini plant is a giant. And I've already taken off probably 8 or so zucchinis off this plant. And there's one growing, and I think there's another one. So it's looking good, trying to keep the squash bugs at bay. And where would your garden be if you didn't have some tomatoes? So most of these are beefsteak. They've all got, I mean, like, look at this guy. I mean, look at that thing. That is a tomato. I've been seeing some people post that they're already eating their homegrown tomatoes. We're a couple of weeks behind, but we'll take good care of these, and they'll be producing out late into the fall, into the first freeze. I did prune. I have taken the time to prune these, and I've basically selected for, like in this case, 2 kind of main trunks. Normally I would take that bottom one off and just select for one, kind of like in this one. Selected for a main trunk, take the suckers off, and I mean, look at that. I mean, there's just some giant tomatoes in there. Now, we also have a lot. There's this just kind of mound of tomato plants. I didn't have time to trellis these. I haven't pruned them at all. I'm not going to. These are some little cherry tomatoes. And honestly, cherry tomatoes, I find them to be the most resilient when it comes to not doing anything with them. I just kind of let them just go wild. Normally I do have them at least in a cage, but didn't have time to do that this year. So, you know, when time's short, you just do what you can, make the most of it, right? The last row over here, well, the last row that you can see what's going on very well, is pepper plants. So that is a hot pepper. That's a hot pepper. That's a hot pepper. That's a hot pepper. That is a hot pepper. This one is a jalapeno. It's got some little baby jalapenos on it. That one's got some jalapenos on it. This one is a hot pepper, and I'm not sure what these are, but it's got a little purple hot looking pepper on it. This one has some, oop, there's kitty. There's kitty. Yep. This one's got some of those same looking peppers, but they're green. So I've got that all written down in a notebook at the house, but I don't know exactly what they are. Bell pepper. Bell pepper's got one. Actually, that is a poblano. That's a poblano. So bell pepper. I've been picking some bell peppers. I probably picked 6 or so off. They're looking pretty good. Bell pepper, bell pepper, bell pepper, bell pepper. You might say, man, you got a lot of bell peppers. I do, because we eat a lot of them. And I like to store them. We cut them up and we'll freeze them. And they're excellent in omelets over the winter. Little eggplant. So these last 4 plants are eggplant plants. So I really, I love this weed barrier. I'm going to use weed barrier more in the future. I definitely think that it is helpful in controlling weed and grass growth. When this garden peters out, I'm gonna put a silage tarp back over the top of it and kill whatever is there. I think if I do that enough times, just over and over again, I feel like eventually I'm gonna wear these plants out, these grasses and weeds out. So I love the weed barrier. This stuff came from Farmer's Friend. It's not cheap, but I do think it'll last more than a couple of years, and it's making my life a lot easier. The way things have been this year with having a new baby and so forth, if I didn't have this weed barrier down, my garden would be a total wreck. And I mean, honestly, I don't think that we would have much production at all, because I just think it would be completely weeded up and grassed over. But because I did put this down, I think it's way more productive than what it would be. I have soaker hoses going. My original intent was not to have soaker hoses. My original intent was to have drip tape, and I did not get it done. I'm going to blame everything on having a newborn. So I didn't get that done. I also didn't want to spend the money on a system. I had no idea how much it was going to cost for us to have a premature 6-week early baby that went to the NICU. And so I was a little bit afraid to spend any money that I didn't need to. I will do drip tape. I'm not a fan of these soaker hoses. They leak all the time. The ends mess up. They put water where you don't want them. I'll definitely change that out. But honestly, overall, I feel like things are looking up. There's a couple of other things I want to show you. That these are long-term goals, and that is the introduction of an asparagus bed and the introduction of thornless blackberries. While we're walking over to these asparagus, I wanted to show you that's a peach tree that I planted last year. That thing is, man, it's looking good. It's growing. Peach tree, another peach tree, cherry tree. This one had a bunch of blooms on it. It got hit by our frost that we had. I'm just thankful that these didn't die from how cold it got this year. Over here, I'm working on an asparagus bed. Got an asparagus. I planted 20 plants, 17 of them are up. I've got to do some, I've got a border here. This grass is not growing in my asparagus bed, but on the border. I got to come over here and get that knocked down. But I'm super pleased with that. I had a patient of mine bring me some shoots for some sort of blackberry variety that is thornless. He said it produces huge blackberries about the size of your thumb. And he brought me a couple of bags full of these shoots, and I planted, I believe, 11 of them, and 9 of them had just taken off just amazing. So next year I'll probably have some really nice blackberries. Big takeaway items though: weed barrier is awesome, and soaker hoses are not. So I'm definitely doing drip tape next year, and I am going to continue to expand with weed barrier and silage tarps. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Follow along. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out in determining whether we're going to keep this channel going or not. And I hope you guys enjoy what you're seeing with us. I'm going to come in here and feed these kitty cats because they've been following me around, and go to the gym.